See if I can do that. Yes, okay. So welcome to another virtual First Friday. It's one of our First Friday gallery nights. We have micro gallery exhibits, as you know, at the New London Inn, Bar Harbor Bank and Trust, Blue Loom Bakery, Tatewell Gallery, and not this time Whipple Hall. We sometimes have Whipple Hall student exhibits, but that's been closed for a while. But we're pleased to have these other exhibits, which are all open during regular business hours. So we hope that if you haven't seen each other's show, if you haven't been to them, please go visit them during their absolutely fabulous shows. I'm going to introduce the artists now. I hope you've all had a chance to see the exhibit, either live exhibits or online. They are all on our website, centerforthearts.org, and they are also on our YouTube channel, thanks to the artists themselves, and thanks to Rick Stockwell, the coordinator, and Peter Block, who assisted us with the videos. So let me introduce our first artist, who will tell us about the exhibit and the process of getting it together and his own thoughts on the artwork there. Roger Wells. The exhibit is at Bar Harbor Bank and Trust. Roger?
And you're muted, Roger.
Roger has to unmute.
Yeah, sorry.
There we go. Okay. Oh, excuse me, if everyone else could just mute while each artist is talking, and then please unmute so that we can all discuss and ask questions. But while the artist is talking, if you mute, it will be better for all of us for listening purposes. Thank you. So Roger.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I formed 5 years ago a group that we call the Art Cafe, and it's a group of 13 artists, very different in the art that we do, and we get together once a month to critique one another's work. Very constructive, and over the period of time we've all become good friends, enjoyed some wine, discussed a number of things, had some tutorials, and in celebration of the 5th year, I thought it would really be nice to share with the public what we've achieved in our abilities because we've helped one another. So I proposed a themed exhibit which everybody would participate in, and used Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass as the basis. Everybody was to find a few lines from that book that meant something to them, and then do a painting or a sculpture or a collage, depending on what they wanted to use, as an expression of that poetry. And the results of that are now at the Bar Harbor Bank.
Roger, how many, you said 13 people are involved with the Art Cafe itself. Did all of those artists participate in the exhibit?
No, we've had 1 or 2 artists who have had some personal problems and weren't able to. So I think we have either 10 or 11 that participated.
And were there any, what was the breadth of the mediums? Were there any things that were unexpected or?
No, because we have an art photographer, we have a collagist, we have a sculptor, 2 sculptors, we have oil painters, we have abstract and realist painters, and I paint in acrylic. So there's a wide range of both media and ways of expressing what we're interested in.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I've heard accolades about the Art Cafe, so thank you for being the host of that and for initiating that 5 years ago, because it's been going strong. And that's great.
So much fun. Yeah.
Thank you. Would you like to add anything to that, or does anyone have any questions for Roger before we move on to our next artist? Or Rick, actually, would you like to lead the event and introduce each artist? Because I was just initially saying hello to everybody, and please take it from here.
Sure. And I just want to give some kudos to Roger for starting the Art Cafe. It's been a great group, and it's turned into a wonderful community. And we are open to other people. Other artists have expressed interest in belonging to a similar cafe. So we are open to discussions about that and helping them set that up. So our next artist is Vicki and John Coran. I hope I pronounced that right. John is Vicki's son, and they're exhibiting at the Blue Loon Bakery, which is a wonderful place to exhibit. It's our most popular micro gallery right now, largely because it gets so much exposure. So many people go in there during non-COVID times. People can sit and have something to eat and look at the art, but it's also well lit. It's got a lot of great wall space for displaying. Our other micro galleries are great. The lighting is better than others, but the Blue Loon is our most popular, and it's already booked for the next almost 2 years. So Vicki and John, if you would, if you would like to talk about your show.
Sure, thank you, Rick. My name is John Coran. I'm an oil painter. The majority of the paintings in the exhibit I started in Port Clyde, Maine. We spent a little over a week there, which was nice. The bigger paintings took majority of the day, at least to get started. In the smaller paintings, I'd work on a couple throughout the day, and I finished them back in my studio. The other animal paintings are from animals at my farm in East Andover.
And Vicki?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay. We talked about background. So I actually was an elementary education major. And then when our children were in middle school, high school, and college, we moved to Philadelphia, and it seemed like a good time to kind of change what I was doing. So I was able to enroll and did a 4-year program. Actually, it took me 5 years at Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts. So consequently, they don't teach one style or one medium. You get in the 4 years just, you kind of learn by osmosis, being there, being around other artists. They have a wonderful faculty. They had visiting faculty from New York and, well, all over the United States come in and give talks and demonstrate. So consequently, I just had some insight to other mediums. And I know right before I graduated, I was talking to one of the professors, and he said, well, now that you graduate, your education begins. I go, 5 years, I rode the train into Philadelphia. But that was so true. It was just absolutely true. So I feel like I have some avenues to explore. So at the Blue Loon Gallery, I have a couple more traditional oil paintings, couple landscapes. I have a series that I've been working on for quite some time, off and on, and they're called my Shape and Color series, and they're a landscape is the subject, and it's broken up into blocks of color. It's really a fun thing for me to do. I paint one color, say one tree blue, and everything else in the painting changes. So then I have to go along. So it's a really good thing so I have Shape and Color there. I also have some collages. So I think it was last winter, I did a series of tea bag paintings. They were collages. So I just dried tea bags, put them on little 4x4s. Sometimes put some acrylic on them. Sometimes I drew on them. Sometimes I made little sculptures. So I have some of those there. And I also have some coffee filter paintings that I've put birches on top in acrylic. And I've used the theme of birch off and on through my whole painting life. And so at the Blue Loon Gallery, I have 3 little birches that are 4x4s, and I have 2 birch collages. And so consequently, I have some collage work there and some traditional oils and some acrylics. And they're just all, while I'm doing them, I love each one I'm doing. And then I move on and I'm just as happy. So I feel very blessed that I can kind of move around in the studio. And I have to say the people at Blue Loon are very welcoming and just they make us feel like we can come in and move our paintings around, which I just did this week. And it's just a treat to be able to be there. Okay, that's it for me.
Yeah, we have great partners, business partners. We do, Lori and Mike at Blue Loon, the new owners now at the inn at the New London Inn are still the owners of the Inn of Pleasant Lake. Scott and Jen are wonderful people, and the people at Bar Harbor Bank are fabulous. If we can just open Whipple Hall, we'll be happy once that happens. I have a lot of questions for you both, but I don't want to be the first ones to jump in here. Does anyone else have questions for John or Vicki? If you do, please unmute yourself and go right ahead. Okay, then I'm diving in. Vicki, you have so many different ways of expressing your art. Do you find one is the one that you love the most, that you go back to over and over and over again? As you move through different phases, then do you go back to something that you just is natural and you love?
Oh, good question. I try to just kind of push myself to where I'm not in my comfort zone. And I think that's the reason I've been able to stay with art for all these years. And even when I go back to a series that I've already worked on, I'm still pushing it into a little bit of a little different direction. So the truth is, whatever I'm doing, I'm usually enjoying, but it's a challenge. I mean, there are days that I'm just going, what am I doing here in the studio? Maybe I should go downstairs and do some laundry or the dishes or something. But we all have that. We just push through it. And so
I have to say, when you were talking about your tea bag series in your coffee field, I thought, is this the breakfast series? Is this what happens after you have breakfast and you feel like, I want to do something with this, engage my breakfast routine?
Yeah.
Could I add a comment?
If you haven't seen them, they're fun. And so I collage them and then look at it, and each one kind of tells me something else. Some are have to do with circles, and some are more straight lines. Some I've put images on top, and they were I have to say, they were very enjoyable. Thanks.
Well, we love all your work. And John, I want to know more about, how did you become an artist? Besides having a very talented mother.
Yes, and she always had paintings throughout our house. And when I was in high school, she went to the academy. So I initially went to Boston University. Then I really struggled with becoming an artist. So after graduating a 2-year program from there, eventually I went to the Pennsylvania Academy, and a lot of my mom's classmates ended up being my teachers. So I felt like everyone knew me from the beginning. So I fit in nicely.
And how did you end up in New Hampshire as a practicing painter?
I had some construction skills and I wanted to rehab a house. And one great thing about New Hampshire are the challenging greens in the summertime. So I would come up in the summertime and paint with my mom. And I always dreamt of moving up here to continue to challenge myself with the greens. And that's how I ended up here in New Hampshire.
We're glad that you're here. Wonderful work, great exhibit, very varied. Between the two of you, the work is so varied. It's really fun to see all the different expressions. It's great.
Jean, I
Yes.
have just a comment for Vicky.
Yes.
Vicky, I came to you during Open Studios a couple years ago. I came to your studio and met you, and the inspiration you must have from that beautiful studio and what you see, I just was overwhelmed. I admire your work, and I can see where you get some of your inspiration.
Yeah, you know, that studio makes a huge difference. If you have a place you can just close the door and not clean up and just feel free to just do your work.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming. It was so nice to have you.
Oh, it was so nice to be there. Thank you.
And I think Roger had a question for Vicky.
I wanted to make a comment that it may sound funny that Vicky's using tea bags or coffee filters, but the collages that she creates, which are genuine paintings, because it's both paint and other substances, so that the painting is three-dimensional, and the colors are three-dimensional, and what that all brings together. I mean, I guess one of my favorite series is the Birch series, but there's tissue paper in it, and it's amazing the subtleties and the nuances that occur in the paintings that she does, because there's so many layers.
It's a beautiful show, and you can see it on our website. The artists of each of the micro galleries describe and show their work and talk about it as they're doing it. So that's on our website under the micro galleries. Hopefully soon everything will be open. The bank and the inn are open, so you can go in there. And I'm not sure about the Blue Loon. Is it open at all, Vicky? Can people go in?
The Blue Loon, you can go into their,
You go to the front door to order.
but I talked to Lori this week, and if there's some interest, they'll walk the person into the other room to show them some of the work. You can see the work in the room to the right, which has really good light and has the majority of the paintings. So it works.
That's
Nice.
great.
All right, so we also have a photography cafe inspired by Roger's art cafe, which I've had the good fortune to belong in as the only photographer since its inception. And so we have a show at the inn, and we've been going on for, I think, 2 years now, our group. It's a great group, all photographers, and I have been fortunate to just transfer leadership to Jay Fitzpatrick, and he's going to be a great leader and give me a break. But the show is a diverse show, from wildlife photography to landscapes to city scenes, and it's a great show if you get a chance to get in there. And we have, let's see, we have 2 other members who are in the show. Mark Bierman, who does some great wildlife photography and gets up at ungodly hours and goes down to the South Shore and photographs snowy owls, and Jay has great variety of photographs. So let me ask Mark if you would say a few words about your work.
Thank you, Rick. Fundamentally, I'm a nature photographer, and the great part about that is it just gets me out hiking, gets me out into the woods, down to the seashore, and so whether I see nature or not, it's a good day. If I'm lucky enough to see wildlife, it becomes a very good day. And a great day is when the wildlife is close enough to actually do photography. But I can spend 8 hours looking for wildlife and never even using the camera. But it's a great way to relax and see nature and then document it and tell a story with the camera. And that's really what I'm doing, is trying to capture the story of the wildlife and being able to share that with other people.
And I think Mark makes a good point. I think people have no idea of the ungodly hours that we photographers get up to arrive 3 hours later at the perfect sunrise and get the shots, maybe having to climb down a cliff to get it, putting our lives in danger for these shots. But we try and get the best time of day, the best lighting, which if you're working and not retired is not always easy because you're limited to weekends and so on. But now that a lot of us are retired, we have a lot more freedom to be able to get those shots.
Sue Elliott had something to say.
Mark, I love your work. I'm just curious as to what kind of camera you use.
I shoot an Olympus. It's a mirrorless micro four thirds. It's significantly lighter than the big Canon and Nikons. Used to shoot those. The quality of the Olympus is equivalent, and it literally weighs probably 1/3 the weight. And when you're hiking and out there for hour upon hour, it makes a big difference.
Can you say that again? What's the kind again?
It's an Olympus EM1.
Okay, thank you.
We have a budding photographer in Sue Elliott.
I think so.
And mirrorless is an important keyword because the new technology of mirrorless cameras allows us to get a lot of shots that we couldn't get before.
And if you want more information on that, please feel free to email me and I'll be glad to provide you with information.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And Jay, would you like to say a little bit about your photography?
Sure. So when I was young in my 20s, I was a newspaper photographer in Western Massachusetts, and I went into other aspects of newspaper work, and I essentially gave up photography for about 30 years. And back then it was all film. In fact, I developed my own black and white film as part of my newspaper work, and I did it in college as well. So I gave it up and I didn't really do much. And in 2009, I began to plan my retirement, and I figured I'd have about 10 years to figure out what I was going to do when I retired. So I took some classes down at the Art Institute in Manchester for about 2 years, part-time, and because I went into digital, it was a whole big learning curve, and the software as well as the camera equipment itself. And so for the last 12 or 13 years, I've been trying to hone my skills and learn more about both the science and the art of photography and blending the two. And it's really been great. I really enjoy it. I do a lot of different kinds of photography. We do a lot of New England landscapes in this group here. But I like to go into a studio and try some macro shots. I'm involved in a couple other groups, and we have assignments, and we do different genres of photography, high key, low key, still lifes, water drop photography, splash photography, etc. So I've been experimenting in the last couple of years with a variety of different techniques, and it's a lot of fun. And I really enjoy getting together with the other photographers in the cafe. And our next meeting will be Monday, in fact. I think we're going to meet starting at 6:30 on Monday, and we meet once a month by Zoom. So if anybody's interested in that or knows anybody that might be interested in joining, we'd be happy to have them.
I'd like to know more about the group. When Rick, I believe you started it after you were in the art cafe with Roger as a parallel group for photographers. How many people are in the group?
We have an average of 6 to 8 at our meetings, and there are another 3 or 4 that belong that join us occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to add to what Jay said, though. We are a closed group, as is the Art Cafe, because we do want to keep the numbers down. We find that if it gets much above 12, it's difficult to manage.
And you meet locally?
We used to meet at people's houses, different house each time, but now we've been meeting via Zoom.
I have a question here from Bethany Balfour for Jay. How did you get that beautiful picture of the, is it heron flying?
Heron?
Yes, how did you do
Well,
that?
I rent a camp on Highland Lake in East Andover every year, usually for 2 or sometimes 3 weeks. And so last summer, I decided to really spend a lot of time trying to photograph the herons that are there almost every day. And so that particular shot, I did it near dusk, and I was facing the shore, and the sun was really nice. The background was pretty dark, and I have it's 150 to 600 millimeter lens that I stuck on my camera, and I went out in my boat and I turned the motor off and just floated in the area where that heron was. And I took a number of photographs, and finally it flew off. And so I had just recently learned the camera settings that would allow me to get a shot like that. And so I used what I had learned, and it came out pretty good.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Absolutely.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, it's a heron against a almost total black background, which is very striking.
Right, I did darken up the background in Photoshop, but it was pretty dark to begin with. It was more of a green because there's evergreens along that side. But I did.
Bethany's popping in here to say it's absolutely sensational. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So one thing we do in our meetings is we share techniques, photography techniques and software techniques. There is a huge learning curve in editing Photoshop and using other editing tools. So now that we've discovered Zoom, it makes it a lot easier. So we can go to screen sharing and somebody can demonstrate a technique, and it's a lot easier to show images and so on. So Zoom it'd be interesting to see if we return to normal meetings, or maybe a combination of Zoom and physical meetings.
I know from my experience with photography that other people don't realize how many shots you take to get that beautiful shot. That you may take 100 to get just that perfect shot.
For sure, for sure.
It's a lot of patience, but worth it when you get it, right?
Right, you don't have to buy film.
That's right, digital's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the Tatewell Gallery also has a show going on right now, but we couldn't get the artists to participate tonight. Their work is on our website, their interviews and descriptions of their work. So I would encourage you to go check that out if you haven't already. And because of COVID, the shows that are usually up for 3 months are up for 6 months now. We've kept all these shows up for another 3-month period. And hopefully in the spring, we'll go back to having regular opening receptions, and every third month, first Friday, at some point, will be opening receptions with great food, free wine. So if you haven't been there, definitely check them out.
Rick, I just don't want to forget that Dawn and Sue Elliott have joined us, and Dawn was part of the Leaves of Grass exhibit too.
Right,
Do you have
right.
anything to say, Dawn, about being part of the Art Cafe or, being part of that show? You're on mute, by the way.
Yeah, I'm a student when I'm in that cafe. It's a wonderful experience. I don't know how they got me in there because I go in there and observe all of the other wonderful artists, and I learn so much. It's just amazing. So unfortunately, my painting, one of my paintings, is not in the cafe in the bank. It has been taken. So I just have one that's around the corner. So I'm kind of a minor player in this, but the inspiration for the Art Cafe is what makes you continue. It really gives you ideas, and it also gives you deadlines. It's always good to have a deadline so that you have some art to produce. Otherwise, in my retirement, I find that I drift. So this is a very good motivator. But it's a very stimulating group and all different types of art, and it opens your mind. It opens your mind. So I'm really appreciative of being in the group. Uh-oh.
Go mute.
Rick, it's back to you.
We appreciate your support and joining us tonight. I want to give a kudos to Jean for being such a great inspirational and supportive and helpful leader. And the CFA just got awarded the Volunteer Organization of the Year.
Nonprofit.
The Nonprofit Organization of the Year from the Lake Sunapee area, which is a huge recognition, especially in these COVID times when there are so many COVID nonprofits, like Sunapee Visiting Nurses and others like that. So she has brought this organization a long way, and it's a joy to work together with the CFA as well as in our smaller groups of the cafes, and there's a lot of great different size communities within the CFA.
Thank you, Rick. And yes, you're right to bring up that there are so many groups in the CFA: the Literary Arts Guild, the Performing Arts Guild, the Visual Arts Guild, the art shows and exhibits, the performances, the speakers and authors. There's so much to the Center for the Arts. So we're thrilled that we've been able to reach out to the community and to the creative community in our midst. And I'm happy that you've been able to join us, because it is a village that makes everything happen. So thank you. And Rick, is there anything more you'd like to say before we say goodnight?
Nope.
Anybody else?
Nope. I would just like to ask a question. Is there a website for the Art Cafe?
Good question. Roger, where would people get information?
I guess it depends on what you're looking for.
Well, I'd like to see the exhibit, actually, if that's online or. I
Oh,
don't
yes,
know.
if you wanted to go see the exhibit that's in the bank on the Walt Whitman, yes, go to the Center for the Arts. And I guess, Rick, you could be more specific on where you go, but it is on the website. And each artist gives a little brief talk about what they were trying to do.
Oh, that sounds great.
It's
Plus,
on,
you can go to the bank and see it. The bank is open
And which bank is this?
on Main Street, Lake Sunapee. Lake Sunapee Bank.
Bar
In
Harbor.
New London.
Harbor. Yeah. So,
It's
Oh, in New
diagonally
London.
across from the library.
But all of the exhibits are on our website, and I think there is a link there to contact us if you're interested in the Art Cafe or the Photography Cafe. If you poke around the website, you'll see a tab for the micro galleries. That's where these videos are. They're tours of the exhibits. And there's also information there on the visual arts groups under another tab called Visual Arts. So if you have interest in any of these, please do contact us. We'd love to
So
have
just go to Center for the Arts,
Center for the Arts NH.
NH.
Dot-
Okay.
.org. It's an org.
.org. Thank you so much.
I'm glad you were able to join us
Wonderful.
tonight. And thank you all for joining us. I think it's been a wonderful chat with all the artists, and the exhibits are fabulous. I'm happy that they're going to be up for another few months so that we have a chance to get in there. COVID's kind of put limitations on all of us, but thank you all for being such active members and such wonderful artists. And thanks for joining us tonight. Have a good
Thank you,
evening.
Jean.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you for doing this.
Thanks,
Okay.
everyone.
We'll see you again soon.
Okay.
Take care.